All right, guys, I know we're all sick of hearing about Shedur, and we can sit here and keep having meaningless conversation about him falling, but I feel like this one report just kind of really clears it up and just kind of gives a good sense of, wow, it really does make sense if this is true. I mean, we can blame it on whatever, but at the end of the day, he showed NFL teams that something that just made him decide he's not the franchise quarterback. But there's the key report that I'm talking about that I'll go over today, and it kind of shows how he may struggle in an NFL system. We'll make some comparisons and contrast to some of those quarterbacks from last year and years past as well. So it'll pop up on the screen right here, and it's from Albert Breer. And obviously, he's a credible source because his first name is Albert, like Albert Einstein. I think that makes sense. But he seems not to be the worst journalist out here, so I am going to give him a little bit of credit. And because of everything else we've heard about Shedur, it kind of does make sense. He says, in the Giants interview, they gave the players an install, and there are mistakes intentionally put in the install. Shedur didn't catch them, and he got called on it, and he was pissed that the Giants did that to him. So just considering the idea that he seemed pissed at the Giants doing this, and the fact that it seemed like a big deal for the Giants makes me feel like it could have been something a little more simple. In a way, I feel like it could show that he's maybe not the smartest football IQ wise. Obviously, the Giants would not make a deal whatsoever about it if it was like something a bit harder. I don't mean whatsoever, but if it's a harder thing to catch, the Giants might let it slide a little more. But for Shedur to get mad about it, it seems like there might have been a bit of a negative reaction from the Giants too. And obviously, there's a lot of talk about Colorado's system and how it makes Shedur look a little more legendary than he might actually be. I feel like this shows just the system might have been spoon-fed in some ways to Shedur. And I feel like not calling out this mistake and being mad just shows kind of a lack to make an adjustment that he might struggle catching on to NFL systems. It shows that he just said okay, and he didn't really think that there might have been something wrong with it. And I feel like this shows contrast to one of last year's quarterbacks and Bo Nix. And we'll take just a second to look at that in just a little bit. And it feels like a big no-no that he's upset about something like this. The fact that he's upset that it wasn't directly given to him and that he isn't going to catch a mistake put in there. I understand why the Giants definitely didn't take him then. And obviously, they were starting to get more linked to Dart. And I assume this is part of the reason. And I think the other thing contributing to his fall is the fact that the Giants definitely weren't the only team to know about this. We've all heard that lots of the interviews weren't good. So I assume that maybe even somehow this spread to other NFL teams. And in a way, it reminds me a little bit of Jamarcus Russell with the tapes. Did Shedur actually go over what he was given, unlike Jamarcus Russell? I bet he did some, but he clearly didn't do it enough or to the extent that he should have. So my contrast here is to the sixth quarterback of last draft and Bo Nix, like I said, and he ended up being one of the best from the class. So obviously Shedur can still be a good quarterback even though he was one of the later QBs taken. And some people question Nix's arm talent, some people not, and that would include me. But they also question the system he was in. The thing is, he showed the Broncos that he was smart enough to overcome these concerns and that the college system wasn't a problem. Even though the Broncos weren't sold on his arm talent when they took him, as Sean Payton had said, it was a surprise when he saw him throwing the ball a little deeper in camps that year. And it just makes me see Shedur, there's already the questions about the system. The talent we all think is fine, right? We think that he has the talent of at least a second rounder, maybe late first rounder. And he can definitely become about a top 16 quarterback in the league based on talent alone. I think that that's about his peak, is about the 12 to 16 range. But then there's obviously already the simpler college system, and now you're throwing in the concern that he might not be able to make an adjustment. Bo Nix didn't give the Broncos the concern of, oh, he probably can't adjust to an NFL system. You know, we saw Bo Nix kind of get some praise, the fact that he can manage in an NFL system, but it seems like Shedur just might not be able to do that. I know this was it felt a little rushed, but it's something that I really wanted to talk about, so I did go off script just a little bit. I feel like that this quote just kind of brings some clarity, and it really does bring stuff together and kind of makes sense why NFL teams were a little reluctant to draft him and why he did fall and why a lot of teams passed on him. I hope you guys enjoyed, and have a good one.